You are now ready to begin Section 4. In this section, we will discuss the rules you must follow while you are on optional practical training. You will also learn applicable tax and health insurance information, as well as what your options may be if you choose to end your OPT authorization early. Finally, we will discuss your options for travel outside the United States while your OPT is pending, as well as after it has been approved. Please remember, anytime you travel outside of the United States, there is always some risk involved in returning. We can only provide recommendation as to what documentation you should bring when returning to the United States. Once approved for OPT, there is no OPT status. You continue to maintain your F1 visa classification. This means that your F1 status is extended to the end of your OPT authorization. Just as you have been doing while attending University of Michigan, you must report any changes of your physical address within 10 days of moving. You can do this through your Wolverine Access account, which will continue to be accessible while you are on OPT. In addition to reporting your address in Wolverine Access, you must also go to the International Center website to the OPT Employment Reporting page and report the information for your employer. Since OPT is not employer specific and you are allowed to have multiple employers at one time, you must report to the International Center the contact information for each employer that you work for. Once you have reported this information to the International Center, we will enter that directly into your SEVIS record. It is very important that you report this information to the International Center, because if we do not have information to enter into your SEVIS record, the U.S. government thinks you are not employed. Therefore, the SEVIS system could consider you out of status if there is no employer information in your record for 90 days from the start date of your OPT authorization. Finally, because you will be continuing to maintain your F1 immigration status under the University of Michigan, you are required to continue to maintain your health insurance. While on OPT, you will automatically be charged a monthly fee for health insurance. If you currently have grad care or have received a waiver for another insurance plan, you will still be automatically enrolled in the IC health insurance after your completion date. If you maintain your private insurance or receive health insurance from your employer, you must apply for a new waiver. Please go to the International Center website to learn more about the waiver process. While you are on OPT, please make sure that your University of Michigan email account is still active and you are still checking the messages. This will be the only way we will be able to contact you if there are any changes in the immigration regulations that apply to you, or if there are any issues with your immigration status. Remember, it is your responsibility to know the immigration rules and to follow those rules appropriately. Depending on how long you have been in the United States, you may be considered a resident for tax purposes during your OPT. This has absolutely nothing to do with your immigration status. Being a resident for tax purposes merely changes how you must file your taxes and what the employer may withhold from your check. If you continue to be a non-resident for tax purposes, you may continue to use the SynTax software provided through the International Center website each tax season. If you are unsure whether or not you are a resident for tax purposes, start by using the SynTax software. If you are a resident for tax purposes, the SynTax software will tell you that it cannot continue and you must fill out a different form. Please refer to the International Center website for additional information on taxes. Next, we will discuss the different situations that may require you to end your OPT authorization before it expires. First, you may choose to leave the United States before your OPT expires. Some examples of this are finding a job in a different country or returning home to see your family without the intention of returning to the United States to resume employment. Second, you may have reached your 90 days of unemployment. If this happens, you should leave the United States or apply for a change of status to another immigration category before the 90th day. Third, you may have changed your immigration status to another category for which you are eligible. For instance, your employer may sponsor you for an H-1B visa. If this is the case, please report any change of status approvals to the Office of the Registrar. They will let us know so we can update your SEVIS record. Finally, you may choose to return to school and pursue another degree in the United States. If you do choose to return to school, please contact an International Center advisor to plan a timeline for your SEVIS transfer. Your OPT will thus expire on the date of transfer, no matter how long you have been authorized. If you choose to end your OPT early for any of the reasons above, other than transferring to a new school in the United States, please complete and submit to the International Center an F-1 departure form. This form can be found on the International Center's website in the Forms section. If you do not submit an F-1 departure form, your immigration status will not be updated in SEVIS, and therefore it could cause an overstay of your immigration status if you have been unemployed for 90 days or more. Also, if you have not received a waiver for your health insurance, you will continue to be billed every month and be responsible for those charges, whether or not you are still in F-1 status or in the United States. Next, we will discuss travel while on OPT. Please remember that any travel outside of the United States when you intend to return in F-1 status has its risks. It is up to you to take those risks or to choose not to travel at all. Although we have found that traveling outside the United States while your OPT is pending is not high risk, the risks do increase if you do not have your OPT application receipt and you travel after your completion date. If you choose to travel while your OPT is pending, please carry the following documents with you: an OPT I-20 signed for travel within the last 6 months, a valid F-1 visa, a valid passport at least 6 months into the future upon re-entry, and your OPT receipt notice. Traveling outside the United States after your OPT is approved is also generally not a high-risk situation. It is very important, though, that you carry the following documentation with you when you re-enter the United States: your OPT I-20 signed within the last 6 months, a valid F-1 visa, a passport that is valid at least 6 months into the future upon re-entry to the United States, a valid Employment Authorization Document, or EAD card, and a letter verifying your employment. This letter should be written by your supervisor or Human Resources Department on company letterhead, clarifying your dates of employment, salary, and a brief description of your job duties so you can prove that this employment is related to what you studied while at the University of Michigan. You have now completed Section 4 of the University of Michigan International Center OPT Online Certification course. In this section, you should have learned how to continue to maintain your F-1 immigration status, how to report your employment information to the International Center, how to enroll or waive your health insurance, what you must do to end your OPT early, as well as the documentation required to re-enter the United States while traveling when your OPT is pending or after it has been approved. If you did not understand all of this information, please return to this section, review it again, and then after you understand everything in this section, please take the following quiz. Once you have answered all of the quiz questions correctly, you will be prompted to move on to Section 5.